Well, good evening and welcome to the Arbor Hills Nature Preserve in Plano, Texas. Tonight's exercise is part one of a two-part field evaluation of the Cloud Defensive MCH HC or high candela flashlight. Now my use case is search and rescue. Whenever I say search and rescue, people often ask, well, don't you use those really large, heavy, bulky searchlights that blast out tens of thousands of lumens? And yes, there are use cases for the large form factor, very high lumen searchlight. However, I spend most of my time in a wilderness environment where on average line of sight is inside of 200 yards. I am also a ground-based element. So everything that I carry, I pay for with my feet. Ounces or pounds, pounds or pain. I tend to think of everything in my loadout as a weight investment, and I want to maximize the return on that weight investment. So what are my expectations from this platform? I think the name really says it all. Mission configurable handheld. Handheld means small form factor, lightweight. Mission configurable, in my mind, that means different mounting options, the ability to use this light in a variety of roles. In short, lots of options. Here is one of those options. It may be hard to see, but I am using the 18650 single output high candela version of the light. If memory serves, 1100 lumens out the front, 71,000 peak candela. Through the magic of Velcro straps, I have this attached to a Vortex Optics Solo RT, 8x magnification. So this one piece of gear is very easy to carry, and it allows me to very quickly direct light down range and recognize fine detail that I would not be able to observe with the unaided eye. Now, in part two of this evaluation, I will take the light out to the LBJ grasslands outside of Decatur. I'll show you a different way to mount it, and the light will be used in a wilderness search and rescue training exercise. But for tonight, need to wait for the sun to go down a bit more, so hang on, and through the magic of editing, I'll be back in a few seconds. Okay, welcome back. Let's start off with some photonic barriers. In terms of light pollution overall, we have about a 1/3 moon out tonight, and of course we have all the light from the surrounding city. That's great. I like to test in less than perfect conditions because almost any light performs extremely well in a perfectly dark environment. So we have all of this light in front of us. You can see the cars going back and forth in the road. We have background light from the city. So let's light this up with the MCH and see what it looks like. All right, there we go. That's our first test. Let's go on deeper in the preserve and increase the distance. Well, I've moved on off the beaten path. I'm going to do kind of a wide area search here with a lot of varying terrain. Now there's a tree line in front of me. I can tell there's a tree line. I have my headlamp in 1800 lumen combined flood and spot. Can't really see much detail in terms of that tree line. So let's turn the headlamp down, and then now I'm going to light it up with the MCH. And we're just going to pan around here. Back out into more open territory. And then finish up right about here. Okay, I'm lighting up a tree out in the distance with my left shoulder light. It's about 115, maybe 120 yards from my current position, and this particular light is 3,000 lumens out the front, about 41,000 peak candela. But since a lot of those lumens are being spread out over a more wide area, I can just barely light up the tree at this distance. So what I want to do is turn this light off, then switch hands, get my rig out, and then light that tree up with the MCH. Now that's lighting it up, particularly with the magnified optic. I can get detail about what's in the branches, and this is the advantage of focusing on peak candela versus peak lumens. So here's another interesting test. I moved well off trail again, and I think I see what might be a bit of a game trail in front of me. I've got some trees, and then I'm not quite sure if that's the end of a rise up there. Now I already have my headlamp in 1800 lumen combined flood and spot, so what I want to do is just bring the MCH here and see if I can punch through that tree line. Yeah, there we go. That's definitely the top of a rise, and it may not show up on the iPhone, but I can definitely see what's just beyond there. And while we're at it, let's pan out over here into much more wide open terrain. And I'm not sure how far that tree line is. I'm going to guess 125 to 150, probably more. And then as I get out of that secondary tree line, over 200, we got some runners there. I don't want to light them up. All right, there we go. Okay, now I'm looking at an area with my headlamp where peak line of sight is in excess of 150 yards. My headlamp is in 3,000 lumen combined flood and spot, so you can just barely see out there. I'm going to turn this down a bit and then light it up with the MCH. Excellent detail. I mean, there's almost no competition in the event that I'm just interested in putting light on a very specific small area, which I am with this platform. This is exactly what I was looking for. So once again, I'm using my left shoulder light out the front, 3,000 lumens, almost 41,000 peak candela, to light up the outer edge of a tree line that is over 150 yards away. And while I can barely see the edge of the tree line, you notice this light it casts a pretty wide beam. It's excellent for getting a good overview of a wide area, but I really can't get much detail about the edge of that tree line. So I'm going to turn this off, switch hands, get my rig out, light it up with the MCH, and there is the difference, especially with the optic. I mean, if somebody was sitting just inside the outer edge of that tree line, I could get enough light on them to make that identification. And that's exactly what I want from this platform. Even though you can see from the background we have a heavily light polluted environment. So here's one final area test. I got my headlamp in 1800 lumen combined mode. I'm going to pan around a bit and then bring the MCH in, and now let's see all that detail we were missing. if I look right out into here, again, line of sight is about 150 to 175 yards, but that tree is blocking, so I really can't light up that distance, except for just a tiny, tiny sliver that I guarantee won't show up on the phone. Excellent visibility into and well beyond those trees. This is my final distance test. I'm at the top of the observation tower. Now there's some apartments off in the distance. Maximum line of sight is about 330 yards. And then as I pan off to the left, we have certain areas that have line of sight exceeding 1,000 yards. So I'm just going to let the MCH kind of the beam go out in the distance, and let's see what we've got here. Of course, we have some particulates in the air tonight. We've got haze. And the wider a beam you have, just the more unwanted reflections you get out of that. Which is why I like these narrower beam, higher candela lights. I mean, we're literally looking back into the lights of the city there at a distance of I don't know how many hundreds of yards. And in a handheld light, especially a very tiny handheld light, this is something I have not seen before. So, pretty interesting test right there. Okay, photonic barriers, you want it. We've got everything. I've got truck headlights in front of me. I have multiple street lamps in front of me. My headlamp is currently on 3,000 lumen combined flood and spot. Let's see how the MCH HC cuts through that. And yeah, I'd say like a knife through butter. I'm lighting up my truck right now. I can see the sticker lighting up beyond the truck, to the left of the truck, out to the entrance to the next parking lot. And there we go, Cloud Defensive MCH HC. I'd say an excellent first evaluation. Can't wait to get this out to the LBJ grasslands and see how it performs there. As always, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you got some helpful information.